from bakers to builders, American business owners are bracing for tariffs to upend their bottom line. The National Association of Homebuilders estimates that $204 billion worth of construction goods were used in 2024 to build new housing. $14 billion, or roughly 7% of those goods, came from outside the United States. And when you drill down on lumber used in U.S. home building, 85% of it comes from Canada, according to the NAHB. Canada plans to double its tariff rate on lumber this year because of the U.S. escalation on tariffs. A custom home builder based in Tennessee, Dan Mitchell, joins us now from a construction site now. And Dan, we should note that you voted for Trump. You hoped that deregulation would help your business, help home building. Are these tariffs affecting you? Are they affecting your customers?
Well, currently, Jake, they're not. First of all, thank you for having me. We're not seeing the tariffs having an immediate impact on our business at this moment. You know, as the administration did not put the tariffs on lumber coming into the country, as well as cement and some potash material that's coming over from Mexico, along with gypsum. So we're not having the impact that the tariffs are having in other industries right now.
Do you believe President Trump when he says this is only going to cause some short-term discomfort?
Well, I'm hopeful that that's going to be the case. I mean, obviously, you know, any increase in pricing of any type of construction material causes our consumers to be able to pay more. And a $1,000 increase on a normal home basically takes out about 10,000 consumers from being able to build a home. That's all part of our national statistics. So, you know, we are concerned about the rising prices. We are concerned about the commodities that we're using in new construction, and obviously lumber, cement, and other commodities such as that driving up prices for the consumer is going to be, you know, have an impact on our ability to be able to provide homes.
Obviously, one of President Trump's goals here is to return manufacturing in greater numbers to the United States. Is it possible right now for your construction teams to only use materials made in the United States?
No, not at this particular moment, especially when we're talking about the softwood material like you spoke about a minute ago. You're correct. You know, 60% of the imports or 70% of the imports of softwood lumber actually does come from Canada, and it represents about 25% of the total material. We do have about 60% national production, in other words, domestic production of lumber, but still that number of softwood product that's coming in from Canada is important in our construction industry. So any increase in cost or any increase in the tariff in lumber itself or concrete or gypsum material, as well as any other electronic components that relate to appliances such as going to our homes, you know, that does have an impact on our consumers' ability to be able to purchase them.
How many homes do you build a year?
It depends on the year, of course. I've built as many as 50 in one year, and there's other times that I've built as less than 15. The style of homes, like in this particular development you see behind me, there's already about 200 homes that are built here, and there's about 600 more that are going to go into this particular development that's right here in Tennessee.
Maybe it's just too soon to tell, but I'm just wondering if any potential customers have expressed any concerns just because of the volatility of the market and the potential impact of the tariffs.
Well, there has been, obviously, because of the impact that the mentioning of tariffs have had on the stock market. Some of our higher-end customers that, you know, get their funds and are going to use their funds from the stock market are kind of putting their plans a little bit on hold until they kind of see how the stock market's either going to even out. You know, they do use that particular the money that's coming from the stock market, cashing in, like you say, their 401ks or cashing in their stocks to be able to pay for some of the construction. So they're taking a wait-and-see approach right now to kind of see what the stock market's going to do. And 2 or 3 of our higher-end customers have just said, we're going to wait and to see what happens with these tariffs before we move forward with our construction project.
I know with a lot of employees and a lot of materials, there's probably not a huge window for a huge margin for you to take the hit if these prices go up, right? I mean, a lot of American businesses are operating on a 5%, 10% profit basis. It's not like they mark things up 50%, 100%. If construction costs rise, will that have to be eaten by your customers?
Well, yeah, you know, we're putting escalation clauses in our contracts right now, you know, telling our consumers, especially on our custom builds, that as prices go up, we have to pass those costs on to you. On the spec building, these type of homes that you're seeing behind us as well, Well, if it raises $10,000, then that goes on the back end of the price of the home. So, yeah, consumers are becoming very aware that as prices increase for the construction of their home, that cost is being passed along to them. And you're also correct, in the construction industry, we work between the 5 and 8% margin on all the construction that we do. And so if there's any impact at all on that margin, then obviously our profits go down, and it makes it less affordable for us to even be able to put homes on the market.
Right. President Trump is known to watch the occasional cable television news show. If you could say something to him right now about the tariffs, what would you say?
Well, I would say that I understand that what you're trying to do is to be able to even the playing field across the world, to be able to make trade more beneficial to the United States citizen. And I get that. At the same time, I really want you to focus on what's going on in the housing industry to make sure that none of those tariffs have an impact on our ability to be able to put affordable homes on the ground. Because right now, that's the biggest issue, is housing affordability. And the biggest issue that we're facing right now that goes along with that is the interest rates that the consumers are having to pay. If we have an escalation in prices across the board, inflation increases, that means the Fed's not going to cut the rates, and then that means less consumers are going to be able to afford a mortgage. So the idea here is for us to get interest rates to start coming down. That would bring more people into the market to be able to afford homes, because it does come down to a monthly payment for a lot of people, and that's part of the interest rate and their mortgage payment.
Dan Mitchell in the beautiful state of Tennessee, thanks so much for joining us today, sir. Hope you have a great weekend.
Jake, thanks for having me. Appreciate you.